What's up, guys? Gun here. Happy Wednesday, October 23rd, 2019. Full slate of NBA games tonight on the docket for FanDuel DraftKings. Last night, we got a little taste. Two-game opening night. The Lakers, the Clippers, and of course, the Raptors and the Pelicans. It was a lot of fun, a very profitable opening night for myself and the members of the VIP crew at RunDFS.com. Remember, you guys can come along for the ride all season long by going to RunDFS.com, getting yourself VIP subscriptions, get yourself signed up, free account, go to VIP passes, and get behind the paywall, man. Then, of course, remember, we did reopen the free chat, so during the day, man, you can pop in here, talk some plays with other DFS players, and we'll have that convenient NBA newsfeed right there on the main page. We're going to briefly look at tomorrow's slate, just a brief kind of skim over, but I would need to remind you guys that we are going to be live streaming a full slate breakdown on twitch.tv/Gunbacker99. Link in the description below. If you guys do not have a Twitch account, get signed up. It takes a minute, if that, to make sure you're following the channel, and you'll get notified when we go live. If you have a mobile device, they have a Twitch app. It's super, super easy. Twitch is going to open up the door for us to have a lot more fun, interactive streams. So the plan is to get these type of videos, review and preview looks up on the YouTube channel, and then we will live stream on Twitch, kind of see how that goes. So help support the channel and the live streams. We will be on the air live this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central, to break down tonight's slate, have a little fun, and interact with you guys in the chat. And of course, I'll actually be unveiling a second Discord, free Discord for all of the non-VIPers to take advantage of. So look forward to that as well. It's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, before we look at tomorrow's slate, let's look back at yesterday's slate and kind of remember what was. And every night I plan on awarding 4 categories to players. We're going to go back and crown the beast of the night, the bust of the night, the value play of the night, and the shock of the night. So before we check out tonight's slate, let's go ahead and get cranked up. Last night's beast of the night is a no-brainer, man. Pascal Siakam, $7,600 on DraftKings, $8,000 on FanDuel. He was the highest scoring player on the entire slate. I had 100% of him. No way I was going to go into any lineup without Siakam going to battle. No thank you. Without Kawhi getting that new contract, getting his bag against the New Orleans Pelicans, yeah, that was one of the easiest plays on the board. However, he was under 50% in all my contests. People try to jam in LeBron, Kawhi, Brandon Ingram, guys like that. He was the play, absolutely the play. He played 38 minutes in regulation. That game went to overtime. He fouled out at the end of the fourth quarter and was still the highest scoring player on the slate, even more than Anthony Davis, LeBron, and all those cats. So easy pick here, beast of the night, Pascal Siakam. Now let's talk about the opposite end of that spectrum. It's tonight's bust of the night. And that's another Raptor here, Marc Gasol. $5,500 on DraftKings, 65 on FanDuel. He put up 13 fantasy points on DK, 12.3 on FanDuel. He played minutes. He had no excuse. He played 32 minutes of basketball against the New Orleans Pelicans in an overtime game that put up 252 points, and he had nothing to show for it. He only had 6 buckets, shot 2 for 9, went 1 for 4 from downtown, was not very involved in the offense. So if you guys had him, you got burned. There was some pre-lock controversy as the official Twitter of Raptors tweeted out that Serge Ibaka was starting, and that applied that Marc Gasol was coming off the bench. Marc Gasol did end up starting anyway. And then, like I said, they went to overtime, and all he could do was muscle out 13 fantasy points, so he was absolutely a lineup killer, crippled you if you had him. He was he was like 30% owned, 40% owned in contests that I saw. So, yikes. If you had him, man, unleash your inner stress on him in the comments below, and then we'll move forward. And hopefully in the future we can take another shot on him. Now let's talk about our greatest value play of the slate. That's another Raptor. It's a 2-game slate, man. So we have to, we might have a lot of overlap here. Fred Van Vliet, man. Freddie, steady Freddie, man. 4,800 on DraftKings, 56 and a quarter is what he put up. He was 5,600 on FanDuel, put up 54.5 FanDuel points, had a career night in every sense of the word. This is the Raptors without Kawhi, the Raptors without DeMar DeRozan. Fred VanVleet put the team on his back, and he scored 34 real points, the same amount of real points as Pascal Siakam, played 44 minutes, absolutely went bonkers, led the team in plus minus with 18, shot 12 for 18, 5 for 7 from downtown. Again, this is the New Orleans Pelicans effect. They run really, really fast pace and really bad defense. But Fred VanVleet is a superstar. He was a free square, essentially. Him and Pascal Siakam, I did not go into anything without them, and they absolutely paid me off, benefited me. And then, of course, VanVleet getting the overtime without Siakam wasn't bad either. And then lastly, how about the shock of the night? This is the guy that I didn't see coming, and that's Danny Green. Danny Green absolutely went bananas. He was the second highest scoring Laker. He played he played 32 minutes in the Laker Clipper game, scored 28 points, shot 7 for 9 from behind the arc, 10 for 14 overall. Absolutely went nuts. 2 steals. He was one of the only Laker players to have a positive plus minus with a +7. You wonder if he stressed out even longer. They had a chance to close that 10-point deficit that they ended up losing by. Absolutely was a guy I was not on. And I think, going forward, Danny Green, Avery Bradley, they're going to have those troll games, and I'm not going to chase them. But, man, if you took a shot on Danny Green tonight on a small slate, it absolutely paid off. He was a tournament must, the tournament nuts to get you guys paid. Those are tonight's 4 rewards. Let's talk about today's slate. It's a little weird on the recording time. It's like 1 in the morning, so I'm still in the habit of saying tonight. And then tomorrow, let's look at our upcoming slate for DraftKings for FanDuel. It's a big one. It's a doozy. If you looked at DraftKings scoring already, you might notice that only one player is priced over $10,000, which means this is going to be a rodeo. There's going to be a lot of mid-tier price guys that we're going to have to identify as underpriced, and there's going to be even lower price guys that we will have to review, project, and assume their role with maybe their new team or their new offensive philosophy. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. The early weeks of a season tend to be the most profitable for me and my crew because it does have the most edge. If you paid a little bit of attention in preseason and you just know these players from years past, you could probably get on the right side of some educated guesses. So we're going to quickly preview all of the games. Remember, full breakdown of every game with co-host on Twitch this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Central. The Detroit Pistons at the Indiana Pacers. It's going to be one of your lock games, 210 total, 7.5 point spread in favor of the Indiana Pacers. The big story here is that Blake Griffin, who in yesterday's video we talked about he could miss one of the opening night back-to-back games. Well, guess what? He's going to miss both of them. He's going to be out for a while. They say that he's going to be sidelined through the first week of November. So we're talking, maybe 2 weeks of him sitting out, and that's going to open up some curiosity in Andre Drummond, who's 8,400 on DraftKings, and Reggie Jackson, who's 5K. I think this will be one that I'm looking to explore all day. Last season, according to the on-off tool at at Fantasy Draft, Reggie Jackson had a 30.5% usage rate without Blake Griffin on the court, and Andre Drummond had a 25% usage rate. Now, this is strictly putting Reggie and Drummond on, taking off Blake. There's a lot of guys that aren't on the team anymore that could move these numbers even greater. So just kind of take note of that. But yeah, Andre Drummond, I think on DraftKings becomes really, really, really low price at 8,400 for a guy who's likely going to have a double-double no matter what. I think the Indiana Pacers are not going to be my favorite matchup long-term for a lot of teams. And this is kind of a seesawed spread here. 7.5 could open up a lot of range of outcomes, but man, Drummond, the opportunity cost too low here because he was definitely priced to play alongside Blake Griffin, and now without Blake Griffin, he's likely going to be a focal point centerpiece of this Pistons team. So I will definitely have some shares of him on DraftKings. The team he's going against is going to be one of my favorite teams to watch, and much like last year, they're starting off very, very low price all the way around. So Malcolm Brogdon, 6,500. You guys that watched him play with the Milwaukee Bucks last season, you know he had some upside, but he never really had to take responsibility or a leadership role because of his Giannis Antetokounmpo's team. He's the point guard here, and the same with Jeremy Lamb. You've seen him thrive in the years past with Charlotte, even with Oklahoma City Thunder. When somebody's out, he steps up and fills the stat sheet and really takes off, and he's only at 5,800 himself. I don't expect this Pistons backcourt to really give us many fits. And TJ Warren, 5,400. Now, I do think it's not likely that all of the Pacers, based on their prices, all hit for a high ceiling, but I think generally speaking, every one of these Pacers are names that I like to play, names that I trust to play decent minutes, and names that I know individually have a lot of upside. Domantas Sabonis, another guy at almost 7K, easily a guy that can give us 40 fantasy points, a double-double. Same with Miles Turner. Miles Turner, 6,300, maybe my least favorite option here, just because I kind of like Sabonis a little bit more. But we'll see as the day goes on. This is just really, really raw, loose projected lineups for most of these teams that we're about to talk about. So tomorrow when I get up, I'm going to recircle the wagons and just kind of make sure that all of these projected starting lineups and these projected rotations are as accurate as I can get them. But this looks like the starting five for the Pacers, and I'm liking it. And I do think it's going to be pretty spread out and balanced, like maybe a bunch of 20% usage rates. But I think individually, all these guys have a potential to pay off their salary. So in 150 lineup attacks, I will probably have a piece of every one of these Pacer starters, even though the total for this game isn't that high and the spread is kind of wishy-washy. Markieff Morris, by the way, 3,600 on DraftKings. He was also priced for Blake Griffin to play. Now, he does have a Q tag on him, so maybe watch for some shenanigans. He's dealing with low back tightness, listed as questionable. If he plays, that's a really, really low price for him. If he saw 25 plus minutes, could certainly be a solid value shot at 20 plus, maybe 25 fantasy points, which is about all you really need to get that play to pay off. And then if he were to miss, you might be looking at some wonky rotations that include Thon Maker and Christian Wood. So keep an eye on how the Pistons kind of roll out that starting lineup. Let's move on. Magic are hosting the Cleveland Cavaliers. Magic are 8-point favorites, another semi-low total here, 212.5. We're going to see Darius Garland and sophomore Colin Sexton take the court here, and hopefully a healthy Kevin Love and a healthy Tristan Thompson. Again, prices maybe are not graduated to where they should be. You can do a lot of guessing here, but I'm going to be honest, the Orlando Magic last year kind of showed me that they can be an annoying defense, a grinded defense. So I'm probably not going to pick on them early on. I think Kevin Love does have a little bit of meat on the bone, and so does Tristan Thompson. But I'm probably going to hope they don't burn me in the long term. Like, if Kevin Love gets to 40, I'm not going to hate my life for fading him at 7,600. It's when he really, really busts out for maybe an 8x here. That's where I'm going to get a little salty. But I think early on, first gut reaction here is I'm not going to go crazy with Cavs in this matchup against the Magic. I think the Cavaliers having two young guards is a catalyst for potentially being a turnover prone team. Guards tend to make forced passes, bad decisions, and we got a lot of guys on this Magic team that can probably take advantage of that defensively. Evan Fournier averaged almost a steal per game. Vucevic did average over a steal per game last season, and they have a lot of scrappy defenders over here. So no one in general that I want to go out of my way to pick on. If that Magic lineup comes out with Aaron Gordon maybe at the 3, or just really Aaron Gordon in general at 6,400 is something I could get behind. I kind of want him more in super pace up spots, but at 6,400, we do know that 35 is a reasonable range of outcome. Would be a fine return, and he has potential to go bananas 40 plus, 45, 50. But for the most part, I'm probably not going to prioritize this game because I do think the Magic control it and don't have to do a whole lot. They had one of the better defensive efficiency ratings last season, and I don't want to pick on that. Let's move on to the next game. Chicago Bulls at the Charlotte Hornets. Another weird game. It gets better, I promise. We got some much juicier games coming up. Bulls and Hornets total 218.5. The Chicago Bulls are a 3-point favorite. Zach LaVine, Lauri Markkanen, maybe Otto Porter, the names that initially stand out. 5,600 for Wendell Carter is intriguing, but he is one that a guy that tends to be a foul-prone type of player, and if he can stay out of foul trouble, I don't mind taking some shots on him, but I think I'm going to err in the side of caution here. This is a rare look for a Bulls team to be mostly healthy. Last season, we saw a lot of rotation on the injured list between Chris Dunn, LaVine. And then, of course, they had a lot of midseason trades and acquisitions that kind of shook things up. Otto Porter, under 6K. He's a high-minute guy. I do like wings against the Charlotte Hornets. I think that's a price with a little meat on the bone, and I think that's going to be the recurring thing on today's slate. There's a lot of guys that have potential ceiling at their price today that can really pay off, and Otto Porter certainly one of them. And then Zach LaVine, almost 8K here. He's a guy that certainly gives us a shot at 40 plus, but I do think that he's priced right about where he should be. Look out for how the Charlotte Hornets come out. They could come out with Nick Batum off the bench. This is what I kind of have penciled in right now. And if they do that, then we might have to start guessing about this Hornets team and their minute rotation. I currently have it projected to where it's pretty spread out, and I think I can get away with full fading them. Terry Rozier is a little bit interesting if you think he tries to make a statement here in his first home game in the Hornets colors. I mean, he finally has a team. This is what he wanted in Boston. But at 7,300, is there a ton of meat on the bone? If it's a really balanced attack by this team, I'm not sure. I definitely don't think he's a Kemba Walker type game changer. So again, if I fade Terry Rozier, he drops 40. Well, congrats, you got 5x, and I think I'm gonna try my best to win elsewhere. 73 is a lot to pay for him. Cody Zeller, 25 minutes for him. He could certainly be one of those guys that constantly gives you a point per minute. He doesn't really profile as a guy in the last season or two to get over the hump in those minutes. And behind him this season, he's going to be dealing with Biyombo, maybe even maybe even MKG stretches out a little bit more. I think this Charlotte team is going to be a team that I really need to see play out. They also have Willie Hernan-Gomez as a third option at center. So I'm probably not going to go too crazy here with the Hornets players here. Rozier's a question mark. I will be watching him, but I don't think I'm going to have a piece of him at 7,300. All this subject to change later on tonight. The Bulls last season really struggled at rebounding, and there were times when Lauri Markkanen could take over games. I'll be honest, 7,800 for Markkanen here. This is probably not the price that I like on Markkanen because when he was having his upside games, a lot of them came without LaVine in the lineup or without Porter in the lineup. And I think if he's sharing the floor with those guys, I don't think this game is going to get that wild to where I'm really going to regret not having shares of a nearly 8K Markkanen on both sites. And Next game, Miami Heat hosting the Memphis Grizzlies. This is a whole lot of yucca. All of these 7 p.m. games, 7:30 games so far, leaving a bad taste in the mouth. But like I said, it gets better. 212s are total. 7.5-point spread in favor of the home team, Miami Heat. Memphis won the draft lottery. Not really. But they got Jay Morant. He's 6,600 on DraftKings. Jonas Valanciunas, 6,600. He's a guy we can certainly see be greater than a point per minute type player. Overall, I don't think I'm targeting the Grizzlies. And on the Heat side, Jimmy Butler at 7,600. Very intrigued with that. I think looking at preseason, his usage wasn't like what we think it is in terms of, hey, this is Miami, this is his team now. But I also don't want to overreact to preseason stats and usage, because we know how volatile that can be. And a lot of the goals in preseason is to get a look at some young guys that you want to see what you got and maybe make some decisions at a position. So Jimmy Butler, 7,600, probably going to be a fringe tier 2, tier 3 for me, because I do think guys like Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis are going to be in that price range where I just give my money to them. But I'm curious. You guys let me know what you think about Jimmy Butler as well. Bam Adebayo at 7K. They did not start off soft with him. Figured without Hassan Whiteside, he's going to be an absolute animal for them. We saw what he would do in games without Whiteside last year. A guy that could certainly drop 30, 40 DKP in a game without an issue. And at this price point, 7K, you kind of need that. Memphis Grizzlies, probably not going to be a team that facilitates a lot of high-scoring adventures. And the Miami Heat, of course, are not either. These are two of the slower pace, grinded out defenses from last season, even though some of the positions have changed a little bit. But I don't expect either team to get too far away from their basketball philosophy from last season. So none of these prices are screaming at me. Again, any of these games that I'm just breezing through, let me know if I completely disrespect somebody and you think I should go back and check. Certainly read all the comments, and then this afternoon we'll go way deeper into each game as best as possible to really preview what we're working with. Moving on to the next game, Nets hosting the Minnesota Timberwolves. This is the first game of the night that could really be very juicy for fantasy purposes on DraftKings and FanDuel. This features the only player over 10K in Karl-Anthony Towns, the big cat. Ernie Ladd is going to feature the regular season return of Robert Covington, 5,400 for him. I love both of those guys. I love those prices. The Brooklyn Nets have been and are probably going to continue to be a team that becomes somewhat annoying in projecting rotation and getting rotation right. We know Karis LeVert talented. We know Spencer Dinwiddie talented. DeAndre Jordan, Jarrett Allen, all these guys are individually great and can be a point per minute monster. But Kenny Atkinson could do a annoying job at distributing minutes. So I think we latch on to a few guys who we know are going to be minute hogs. I think Kyrie Irving, certainly in his Brooklyn debut in this matchup, will like to pay off that near 9K price tag. I'm looking for 50 plus from him if I play him. And then Karis LeVert's almost 7K. I'm looking for 40 plus. And I'm not sure that I believe that a 40 plus LeVert game and a 50 plus Kyrie game coexist more often than not. But I could be wrong. Taurean Prince, very interesting. They did just extend him. 4,400, probably too cheap of a price here. Although, if he matches up with Robert Covington, Covington definitely known for being one of the better defenders in the league. I love Covington at 5,400. I think he's going to float along most games, giving us a solid floor as he fills up the stat sheet. In what he did play last year, he averaged double-digit points a game, 2+ steals a game, 5 rebounds a game. So you see a path to him giving us a solid floor. I think my loose projections right now kind of painted him at 26 fantasy points, just about 5x. And we know against a team like the Nets, who really struggled at rebounding and points in the paint last year, he could benefit from that and maybe just maybe a couple extra steals there, and steals would be really lucrative on FanDuel. Even though on FanDuel he's $6,400. Both teams' rotations, or at least their benches, are annoyingly deep. So I'm certainly interested to see how Kenny Atkinson's uh, minute diet pans out. He did say that he wants to keep Spencer Dinwiddie involved, and that's going to be a priority for him. So if you're thinking 5,400 for Dinwiddie, still cheap enough for him to go out there and drop nearly 40 fantasy points, as we saw that plenty of times last season, I don't mind taking a chance on that. And then Karl-Anthony Towns, man, this is certainly a spot where you can come out here and drop, 50, 60 fantasy points. We'll pull up statmuse.com. Karl-Anthony Towns, DKP by game log versus Nets last 5 games. And 66 is what he dropped in his, that's his highest against Brooklyn. His last game against Brooklyn was 37 DraftKings points. Prior to that, 59. That 37 came in 28 minutes, by the way. That's not normal. 59 and 37 minutes, 50 and 34 minutes, 30 and 40 minutes, and then 66 and 36 minutes. The most recent games, of course, like I said, 37 in 28 minutes. That's not normal. We're probably going to get 37 minutes out of Karl-Anthony Towns, and then we add another 15 points to that. So Cat's probably one of your strongest floor plays. He likely to lead this team in points per game. Probably a walking double-double in this matchup. And maybe a guy that excels in the usage department. Andrew Wiggins going to be a tough click for me all season. 5,700. I could see it against the Nets, but I'm probably not running out of my way. And these are certainly two teams I will be resweeping earlier or later this afternoon to kind of get as tight as possible in terms of minute projections and rotation projections. Next game on the docket, it's your first game of the ESPN doubleheader. It's the Philadelphia 76ers hosting the Boston Celtics. We got a 212.5 total here. Home team, Philadelphia 76ers, favored by 5 points. This is your Kemba Walker debut with the Celtics. And for the Sixers, it's your Josh Richardson debut. And it's your Al Horford debut against his former team, the Boston Celtics. This game should play somewhat slow, maybe defensively. And I definitely think on paper the Sixers outmatch the Celtics here. Probably agree with them winning this game. I'm not going to call a blowout or anything like that, but I definitely think the Sixers are a team that might annoy me from a usage standpoint because they are so spread out and so talented at every single position. Joel Embiid in the preseason, as you might suspect, led the team in usage. He has been a point per minute monster, and he's pretty much matchup proof. You expect him to want to set a high bar, a high tone for the season opener for the 76ers. He's just under 10K. I don't think salary is going to be as significant today as it will be in a week or two, meaning if we have the money for Cat and Joel Embiid is there, there's certainly a range of outcomes that Embiid at $300 cheaper than Cat outscores Karl-Anthony Towns. So if you're trying to make like leverage pivots and you think Cat's higher on than Joel Embiid, you could kind of flip that and maybe take advantage of some ownership there and hope you leapfrog Cat owners if Embiid goes absolutely crazy. Like I said, Embiid is likely going to give you at least a point per minute, but maybe closer to 1.5 point per minute. Al Horford, 5,600 on DraftKings. It's one of the bigger discrepancies between the sites in terms of pricing. 7K on FanDuel, 5,600 on DK. At 5,600, I'm looking for 25, 30. Not something I'm gonna go crazy to expect him to blow out the water. Same with Tobias Harris, almost 7K. J Rich is 55. J Rich could be one of those guys that I'm intrigued by. To have some small shares in big field tournaments. They do like his ability to push the ball up court and be a primary ball handler. And Brett Brown has even gone as far as to say he thinks Ben Simmons and Jay Rich could be one of the best backcourts in the league. So at 5,500, I think there's some potential for him to flirt with 40 fantasy points. But like I said, this matchup probably not the matchup that squeezes out all of the upside from every play. And I could see, two Sixers kind of failing us from a fantasy perspective, and maybe one or two Sixers succeeding from a fantasy perspective. So, not likely to have full stacks of Sixers players today, or the team, but I'll certainly have some cherry picks here, and we'll dice up even deeper on who those might be in the 3 p.m. stream this afternoon on Twitch. Kemba Walker, 8,100. I'm looking for 40 plus, 50 plus if we can get it. I'm curious to see how he leads this squad. Looking around at, I'm just looking around at a lot of suspect names in terms of who can offer scoring. Everyone on the Celtics outside of Kemba last year averaged under 20 fantasy points or 20 real points per game. Kyrie Irving was a big part. Al Horford wasn't even that big. It was just a really spread out offense where everyone just had 20 to 24% usage, and not often someone broke the slate unless like Rozier stepped up because Kyrie was out and Jaylen Brown was out or Marcus Smart was out or something like that. So this will be one of those teams I kind of teeter-totter on throughout the day. I don't think Brad Stevens has it designed for any one player to absolutely be the guy for the squad. I think he has 5 team players, 5 role players. Robert Williams, if he draws a start here, or even if we project him for decent minutes at 3,400, it's a little bit intriguing, but against this Sixers front court, I'm probably not going to run to project him to be a slate breaker. Next game, Mavericks hosting the Wizards. This is a 223 total. The Mavericks have an 8.5 point spread. That type of spread gives us range of outcomes for potential blowouts, but the total is nice, and I'm excited to finally play some Luka Doncic, some Kristaps Porzingis. So I will. Porzingis 8,200 on DraftKings, Doncic 94. This is certainly a matchup that they should all thrive in. This is a Wizards team that was terrible at rebounding last season, allowed a lot of points per game, allowed a lot of 3-point shots per game, just bad defensively all the way around. And just look at the squad, man. Ish Smith, Beal, Isaac Bonga, Hachimura, Thomas Bryant. I think Hachimura, I'm not going to dog him, but this is a team that looks like they're driving the tank on day one, right? So I think if you really want to invest in some Mavericks here, like I do, Doncic, Porzingis, I think you have to build lineups, game scripting it to stay close. And how does it stay close? Probably Bradley Beal. He's almost 9K, and that's a guy that at 9K I'd probably need to play almost 40 minutes, and we've seen him do it. How quick will the Wizards be to letting him play 40 minutes a night? I don't know. But yeah, I don't want to overexert and overexhaust ownership on Doncic and Porzingis in a game that I'm not confident stays close. But I also think at their individual price points, Porzingis can get there pretty easily, and Doncic is a true triple-double threat in this matchup. Dwight Powell listed as out for this game. He is dealing with a left hamstring, and Rick Carlisle said he's going to be missing at least the first 2 games. So we got Maxi Kleber projected as the center. Kristaps Porzingis, their other big. Maybe DFS stretches out if they had to. But guys, guess who they also have on this team? $3,200, Boban Marjanovic, signed in the offseason. I think I'm a little biased. I love playing Boban. I think there's a couple game scripts you can put here for Boban at 3,200 to be in play. One, if you think it blows out, Boban can get some of that fourth quarter run and we're talking massive giant field tournaments, by the way. Don't play Boban in cash and be like, Gunn, you said play Boban. Don't. But just looking from 10 hours out, 15 hours out, there's a need for bigs here, and Boban Marjanovic is really, really, really cheap. We know this guy could be a 2x per minute. In this matchup, he could go bananas. So give me some Boban as some of my risky center plays today to even stretch out and open up more salary Not that I need it today, for sure. And then you can even make the case for Maxi Kleber on both sides. FanDuel DraftKings is pretty cheap, but my focus is going to be on Porzingis and Doncic for sure. Outside of that, Wizards are going to be one of those teams we're going to have to dig deeper in as the afternoon progresses. Just not a team to be excited to research about, but I have been looking at their preseason numbers and whatnot, and like I said, it's basically going to be a team that lives and dies by Bradley Beal. We'll see how this game turns out. 8:30 p.m. Eastern tip-off time for that one. Same tip-off time for the San Antonio Spurs hosting the New York Knicks. This is our first double-digit spread of the night, a 10-point spread in favor of the home team, San Antonio Spurs. 214 totally projected starters for the Knicks. Dennis Smith Jr., R.J. Barrett, Marcus Morris, Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. This is a team that, they like the okey doke DFS players. If you didn't catch a lot of Knicks basketball last season, Dave Fizdale is a guy that is the banner, the poster boy for a coach that says one thing and does another. Coach that starts somebody and doesn't give them minutes. So I'm not looking forward to Knicks chalk nights, but thankfully this is not one of them, as they are pretty significant road dogs here against the San Antonio Spurs. Total really low here. You guys know a Greg Popovich team likely going to play strong defense and not going to really run the ball a million miles a minute. LaMarcus Aldridge, DeMar DeRozan, DeJounte Murray, all curious guys for me. DeJounte Murray is a guy I do want to play early this season before the field does. I don't know if this is the matchup, but I don't know that it's not the matchup. But this rotation for the Spurs is going to be pretty balanced, I think. Derek White showed last year that he could play some guard. Bryn Forbes is in the mix. Patty Mills, Marco Bellinelli. So it's not like we need Murray out here to play 35, 38 minutes. So I don't think I'm going to force the issue with anyone in this game. There are a couple names that I will certainly be watching going forward. I want to see if Julius Randle will be a Dave Fizdale player we can trust for minutes, because I was addicted to playing him with the Pelicans. But this is a different offense, a different team, a different pace, and a different coach where he's not playing 40 minutes, or he may not play 40 minutes. And then Mitchell Robinson kind of in that same breath. And then I definitely want to see the point guard situation, because as of yesterday, they didn't have a confirmed point guard for opening night, and it was a toss-up between Dennis Smith Jr., Frank Ntilikina, and Elfrid Payton. So that's going to be a point guard rotation I'd probably stay away from, but I am curious to see how it kind of shakes up in the short term. Then, of course, we'll see how R.J. Barrett plays in his first few games as a hyped-up rookie. Next game, Utah Jazz hosting the Oklahoma City Thunder. This is a pretty high total, all things considered, 224. Utah Jazz with a 9-point spread. The Utah Jazz have the second highest total on the slate as a team via Vegas. So that is certainly something to be cognitive of, because I don't think the Jazz often project as a team that you want to go out there and attack on a big slate, especially when you look at some of these names, Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert. Like, you don't expect this game to be fast-paced or anything like that, but I do think it might surprise some people. Oklahoma City Thunder, I think they'll be scrappy to start the season. I said this in the team preview video. I think Chris Paul, Danilo Gallinari, Steven Adams, they're gonna be scrappy, and they're not gonna be a free win. But I don't think I'm gonna go out of my way to play anyone from the Thunder today. No one's priced at a spot that I thought I could take advantage. Maybe like Dennis Schroeder at 4,100. There's some meat on the bone there, especially if this game kind of like gets lopsided. But Chris Paul at 7,400. It's about what you might expect his ceiling to be around this time. 40 plus, a double-double against this team. So I'm probably not pressing the issue on any of these Thunder players. But on the Jazz side, Rudy Gobert at 8,300, likely a double-double. Mike Conley, I'm probably staying away from. And then Donovan Mitchell, while we have a healthy Mike Conley, Donovan Mitchell is probably someone I don't run to at nearly 8K as well. I think this Jazz team kind of projects pretty well balanced as well. I don't know, man. I might change my mind later in the day just based on the Jazz having the second highest team total. But I don't think anyone's priced at hey, this guy's way too cheap point, 75 for Conley, 78 Mitchell, 83 for Gobert. You might talk me into Gobert getting some extra blocks here. Thunder, or maybe undersized, all things considered. So maybe that'll sell me on him, and especially on FanDuel, where blocks are even more valuable. But for the most part, I think I might just have errant one-offs here. Definitely not interested in a short-term stack. Let's move on to the next game. Sacramento Kings at the Phoenix Suns. So the Jazz have the second highest point total on the slate. The Kings have the highest point total. This is your highest team, or your highest game total, 232.5, and the Kings are favored by 1.5 right now. So this is probably a game you consider short-term full stacking for tournaments, and I think there's plenty of lucrative names and prices to take advantage of. If you guys remember, the Kings pushed the pace last season. Phoenix Suns, if they have a healthy Devin Booker, he was dealing with a dislocated finger, I believe, in his non-shooting hand in the preseason, but it sounds like he's good to go. I think as the Kings go, for this game to stay close, Devin Booker has to go, Kelly Oubre has to go, and I'm excited to full stack it on the Kings side. Give me Fox. Definitely think he's a guy that has sneaky triple-double upside, but probably at least double-double upside. Buddy Hield's a pure shooter here. Marvin Bagley, he was a slate breaker in the middle of last season. Then he got injured and kind of finished the season playing limited minutes every night. He's off the chain now, and we put him at 30 minutes against the Suns. I'll certainly take some shares there. And then Dwayne Dedmon coming in from Atlanta. Intriguing, but probably one of my least must plays from the Kings here. On the Suns side, Devin Booker for sure. If we project this game to stay close, again, I don't think Booker's priced at a easy click play at 87, 9K. I'm looking for in the area of 50. But if we're going off what Vegas is projecting here, this is the game that should shoot out. And if the Suns stay in it, I think Devin Booker has to have a strong game. And I feel the same way about Kelly Oubre. This is a team now that will be without TJ Warren. Warren was a guy who, 30 minutes plus the last couple seasons for them. Josh Jackson, no longer on the team. He's another guy that pushed 30 minutes a game. Sure, they picked up Mikal Bridges, but I think Kelly Oubre might be one of those guys that have all-you-can-eat minutes. And at 5,600, I think there's some room for him to bust out 30-plus fantasy points, maybe even push 40 here and there. And then DeAndre Ayton, AK, that's not a price point we were forcing him in a lot last season. But I do think in this matchup, with the amount of shots that are likely to be made or taken in this game, should be plenty of rebounds for him to thrive here. I think this should be a lot of fun to watch. Two young teams with a couple of veterans spread in. You got Ricky Rubio as the vet starting for the Suns here, and then Harrison Barnes now the vet for the Kings. I'm curious, man. I'm very excited. This is one of those games I definitely need to come back and tighten the screws on minute projections and fantasy projections. I do think on the Kings side, some supplementary plays, some peripheral plays, guys like Bogdanovich, Yogi Ferrell, guys like that. But definitely Bogdanovich, because he can be a point per minute plus and scrape 30 plus fantasy points too. And then Mikal Bridges on the bench right now for the Suns. He could maybe mess around and start. I don't have a confirmed starting lineup for the Suns yet, so I'll have to circle the wagons on that. But a lot of 30 plus minute guys to project here at sub 9K, sub 8K in the Slate's highest total. Lastly, the ESPN main event, second game of their doubleheader, the Denver Nuggets at the Portland Trailblazers. This is a 219.5 total. The Portland Trailblazers, the home team, favored by 1.5. I'm a little bit surprised about that. Jamal Murray, Nikola Jokic. I mean, we got a fully healthy Nuggets team. Sans Bobo, they're Will Barton looking for revenge, right? Jeremy Grant, like their bench is pretty stacked here. I definitely think that if I had a little bit of value in a Denver money line, I might take it here. But it looks like they're getting some home team treatment at $1 in the hook. Lillard at 91, certainly in play. Hassan Whiteside is the one I'm most curious about. I really am. And the reason for that is because on the depth chart, there's only 2 other centers listed. That's Paul Gasol, Yusuf Nurkic. Obviously, they're going to have a plan where Whiteside's not playing 40 minutes in the game. But for the first time in a long time, Hassan Whiteside has an opportunity to not play 20 minutes or not get benched or push to the bench, come off the bench. This is a center for this Blazers team. He should be a 30-minute guy, maybe even more. And more often than not in history, when Hassan Whiteside has had 30 minutes or more, he's been a massive play. Hassan Whiteside DKP by game log with 30 minutes last 10 games. We'll put that in the stat muse, see if they spit out an answer. I don't think I did. Hassan Whiteside DKP by game log with, yeah, you may not even have, how about 25? Maybe I just put 25 minutes. Or let's go 28 minutes last 10 games. No, it's not working. Hassan Whiteside DKP. All right, how about this? Hassan Whiteside most DKP by game log. Let's do that. Just for now. So just going to look in the 30-point range area. Or excuse me, the 30-minute area. And we're seeing 60s, 50s, 58, 76, 57, 55, 57, 58, 58, 61. Kind of see what I'm getting at. 55, 58. Now, I do think the Denver matchup is certainly not one that I'm excited about. But I would say the same about maybe the Utah Jazz. And in December of last year, he dropped 60 in 34 minutes. So he's just such a dynamic player. And his way to accrue fantasy points is diverse. And essentially his potential and propensity to get blocks is huge for FanDuel, but for both sides. This man could be 50 fantasy points, and we might regret not playing him as he soars close to being maybe a 9-10K player, because he has that kind of upside. He really does. Not my favorite matchup, up against Jokic. I don't want him to potentially get in foul trouble and Millsap and that front court that they have for the Nuggets. But I do think that's going to be a price point play that I played just because of the talent and just because the upside here. And hey, why not have a late night hammer that could break the slate? So with Paul Gasol, Nurkic still out, they're going to be out for a while, unless you think guys like Anthony Tolliver and Zach Collins stretch out and steal a lot of his minutes. Sans foul trouble, which is a very real range of outcome. Hassan Whiteside should have an opportunity to play 30-plus minutes, and we've definitely seen the damage he can do and has done. Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, those guys tend to be coin flips. Either one of them can drop 40, 50 on any given night. On the Nuggets side, the front court, they lost Trey Lyles in the offseason, but they picked up Jeremy Grant. Kind of expect that to be a one-step forward, one-step back situation, maybe a lateral. Mason Plumlee still in their front court, 3,400 for him. A little bit of a revenge game for him back in Portland. Maybe have some fun with that. Jokic, a triple-double threat. However, Jokic was or has been a guy that I definitely prefer at home in Denver. Not that he's off limits on the road. Last season, though, he averaged 5 less points per game on the road, and he is on the road here, so there's that. He also averaged 53.9 points per game against Portland, so that's also a pretty positive trend. Is this career stats? Are they listing career stats? Or no, they're including playoffs. Okay. Yeah. I think Denver's going to be a pretty well spread out team in usage and probably fantasy production as they're fully healthy. This is a team that we kind of struck when guys like Will Barton would go down or maybe Jamal Murray would miss. But I think when they're fully healthy and Mike Malone has a ability to kind of keep his minute rotations spread out, I don't think it's an easy call to determine which guy rises to the top. But obviously Jokic would be the high floor guy if we're targeting a late night hammer with triple-double upside. And maybe Will Barton off the bench at 4,300 has a little bit of wiggle room. Yeah. Kent Bazemore, by the way, taking over the Evan Turner role for the Portland Trailblazers. Hey, if you guys want to get caught up on every team, I did put out a video on this channel yesterday kind of getting acclimated with every team's offseason moves. It was a 2-hour listen, went a little bit longer than I thought I would, so sorry about that. But if you're looking for a primer, a fresher course on every team going into opening night, that video might get you caught up. And yeah, so as a reminder, this afternoon, twitch.tv/Gundacker99. That's where the live stream's going to be. You guys that joined us last year daily for the afternoon live streams, we're still going to do them. We're going to do them on Twitch. We're going to do a little bit more things. We can play music. We can do polls with the chat. There's subscription options for people that are looking to support the pod and all that good stuff. So make sure to join us over there and be prepared. If you don't already have a Twitch account, go set it up. Go follow the channel. Links in the description below. I'm very excited for NBA to be back. I hope you guys are excited for NBA to be back. Remember, outside of the live stream, I do a pre-lock voice chat every day for 2 hours before lock in the RunDFS.com VIP Discord. Let me asterisk every day but football Sunday, and we did it yesterday, and it was a very profitable day for the crew over there. So come have some fun with us. And join the live chat. And if you don't want to grab a mic, you can just listen in and have some fun. That's what the Discord looks like, by the way. And of course, I'll have the spreadsheet set up with my favorite picks and plays, my tier 1s, my tier 2s. I'll have projection sheets for DraftKings, for FanDuel, for Yahoo. Yeah, Yahoo's in here as well. And then, of course, early in the season, I'll be glad to take your suggestions on features to add to the spreadsheet, and I will do my best to incorporate that, because I do have to recode this whole thing in probably about a week as we get more information and different stats are available to me. So that's it for this video, guys. I appreciate you stopping by. If you want to help me out, hit that thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and then of course be with us this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern, on the YouTube channel. I'll see you guys in the next video. Good luck. God bless. Go win some money.